morning. It's Siobhan Muir. I'm awake, kind of, mostly. Excuse me, just a second. There we go. And I'm here to welcome you to the Sunday morning tea on SMTV, sponsored by YouTube. Well, whatever. It's more like YouTube is hosting, and I'm just talking at you. In any case, it is the Sunday morning tea, and hopefully y'all have something warm to drink. Mine says insert coffee to begin. So here I am. Good morning, Terry. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I know I have to make all these announcements everywhere else. It's like, go to YouTube, you guys. I'm here on YouTube. I almost gave in this morning. I almost gave in and said, I'll just do the live post on Facebook. And then I went, no, I have to build my audience. I have to convince people to subscribe. I have to be here for them. So I'm here. Hopefully y'all have some coffee as well, or tea, or whatever it is you drink in the morning on Sunday. And it snowed last night here in Cheyenne, which means that, hey, Bern, welcome. No, not Facebook. Yeah, if you guys can convince people to come over here, I'm here. I'm here to talk to you. Good morning, Stephanie. How's the weather? It was snowing, but now we just have high clouds and a skiff. It's just a skiff of snow, like a dusting. It looks like someone poured powdered sugar over everything. So that's how it is here. I think the sun's trying to come out. Oh yeah, I see a little bit of sunlight. But for the most part, it is just cool, and I'm happy to be inside. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining me. The title of this video is called The Author's Dilemma. And I want to talk about writing a little bit more than just me rambling on some random subject. Kind of like, you know. So the author's dilemma is kind of, why do we do what we do, right? We're writing stories, and you got dumped on? Wow, Terry. 59 there, Bern? You need rain but have sunny skies. Oh, yeah, it'd be nice to have some sunny. It'd be nice to have the rain. You need the precipitation, in the wintertime. It'd be nice that. So the author's dilemma. What is the author's dilemma? The author's dilemma is deciding, how do you produce your art, right? Because we're writers, we're storytellers. We want to get the best story out to you, and we want to make you believe in these characters, no matter what they are. They could be vampires, werewolves, they could be firefighters, they could be seals, they could be shapeshifter seals. No. The point is, we want to convince you that these stories are real. And how we deliver them is you have to have a clear voice, and you have to get this information out. And you want to always remember to show, don't tell, right? So don't sit there and go, well, they were once kind of. Good morning, Nellie, welcome. Or afternoon, yes, that too. You want to get that information out to people in a way that doesn't make them feel stupid, or make you look stupid, or is obviously not clear. Like I saw the movie in my head, but I didn't get it out to you where you can follow me along. Well, so the dilemma becomes, do you write it the way the muse tells you to write it? And in many cases, that's just fine. The muse and everything else is all in alignment. Or do you write it what seems to sell? Because we're putting out a marketable product, right? It's in the long run, it's just like, well, can you sell it, right? Because you want people to buy it, and you want people to enjoy your books, and you want people to enjoy your art and all that stuff. The question is, can you put it together in such a way as people will totally buy it for whatever price? Hopefully it's a reasonable price, because even I have a budget too. It's kind of like, well, I don't want to spend. Like, I saw an ebook yesterday, and I like the author's voice, and I like her storytelling ability, and she sucked me in. But for her very first ebook, she wants $7.99. And I thought, Well, I can go buy myself a paperback for that. If I'm, why am I spending so much on an ebook? So, I mean, even I have a dilemma where I'm like, I'm not willing to pay that much. So, there's that balance of, pricing your books, but also putting the book out there in such a way that people will enjoy it and read it. Yesterday, I asked the question of, if someone's writing a story, and me in particular, I have a story that I've got, that the heroine's perspective is written in first person. Not first person present, but first person past. It's, I saw this, I did that, past tense in the verbs. The hero's perspective is written in third person, because really this is the heroine's life, but there's events that the hero experiences that the heroine isn't there for. And I don't want him to come back later and tell her what happened. I want you to experience it through him. But it's written in third person. That's a switch. The general rule is don't switch, don't switch first and third, don't switch POVs, don't head hop. And I agree with the head hopping. It drives me nuts. You have to have clear marked changes for me. It's for me. I'm not telling you how to write. And, the general rule is if you have it all in first person, you have it all in first person. If you switch POVs and you're writing first person, you better keep him in first person as well as her. Well, I didn't do that. And the dilemma here is, will people buy it? Will people read it? Will people hate it? Well, you have to take that into consideration. But on the other hand, are you writing just like everybody else? So it's going to be like the same story, only different characters, and maybe different, And so there's a balance point between writing it your way and writing it in a way that you wanted to tell the story and the muse told you the story, which is, first and third, a switch. Now they're clearly marked, but it is a jarring sense. And a lot of people have told me, I asked the question, and the response I kept getting back is, don't do it. You know better than to do that. That's not the way it's done. Right. It's not the way it's done. I do know the rules, but I know them well enough to probably break them. Okay? Yeah, the Hallmark movie trope. Yeah. And the thing is, the majority of romance written out there is damsel in distress. That's the biggest trope, and it sells very, very well. I mean, people who write damsel romance, they make money hand over fist because people really identify with that damsel in distress, and here comes this big hot seal, or the hot firefighter, or the cowboy, or, the Delta Force operator, or, the construction worker. Who else am I missing? I got the cowboys, I got the seals, I got the firefighters, werewolves, vampires, whatever. You got this massive hero who comes out of nowhere and he saves the heroine. And she's like, oh, you rock, right? That's the best-selling trope out there. Hey, Mary, they aren't as much rules as guidelines. You're absolutely right, Mary. And I do know the guidelines, and I do know the idea. But the dilemma becomes, do you write it like every other story, where the heroine's in third and the hero's in third, and you split between their POVs and you tell the story? Do you write it where you only write it from the heroine's perspective? See, that's the other side is you just write it from the heroine's perspective in first, right? Or do you do like Shirley Gray does, and her books were really good, and I really enjoyed them. Do you write both POVs in first and just switch and make sure you put a headline where Hank speaks and then Birdie speaks and then Hank speaks? And do you do that? That's, again, those are the traditional ways of writing, and those are the rules. I know them. I know them very well. I've been doing this. Someone actually had the gall to tell me how it should be done. Well, if you started in first, you should write it in first. And if you started in third, you should write it all in third. And I just sat there thinking, I've been doing this for 6 years. I kind of got it, thanks. I didn't need the advice. I just asked if you liked it. If you don't like it, you could have just said, no, I don't like it. Not hard. Just, all I was asking was your POV on it. I didn't ask you to tell me how it's done. I know how it's done. I've been doing it for years. Stop mansplaining me. Well, not mansplaining. Stop patronizing me. I do know how to do it. So, and those are the guidelines. But The other side is, will they buy it if you write it in a way that you feel is right, but they don't like? Well, maybe not. How important is that, though? When does it become, I've got to write it to make money, or I've got to write it the way I believe it? I almost never do first person, but the last third person 3 I've written were first, yeah. Stop booksplaining. Yes, exactly. I'm very capable. Obviously, if I have 20, I think it's 26 books now, darling. If I have 26 books out there, and most of them, as a matter of fact, all of them are written in third person, I know how to do it. I got it. I'm set. I'm on it. This story, when I wrote it, gosh, I guess 10 years ago now. And I had never seen it done that way. I'd never seen it done where one character's POV was in first and one was in third. I'd never seen it done that way, but that's the way the story came to me. That's the way how the muse did it. And one of the things, so everyone was telling me how I should. And again, I do have to balance will it sell with how do I want it told, right? I do have to balance that, because if I don't go true to my own art, then it's going to be a crap ass story. It's going to suck. But if I do write it, how many people go, I don't like it because I won't read it in the switch, right? A lot of people say it jars them. I hear that too. I hear that a lot. The cool thing is, one of the editors that I'm friends with, who I respect a great deal, said, you kind of have to write it the way the muse wants it. Just like Terry just said. You kind of have to write it the way the muse wants it, because otherwise if you try to change it, it sucks. Nellie says she writes mostly in third, never tried first, but I know that the first can be difficult to write because of explaining the point of view without telling. Yes, it is. You have to write it just like you're writing third, but the speaker has to be very clear of what's going on. However you do it well. Well, I will always do it well, because my voice won't let me, I won't write crap for you. I just won't. I'm reading a book written from both. Each chapter is one person's. Not bad for this book, but it depends on the writer. Always be true to the muse. Stay true to me. Well, that's okay. Now, the dilemma I'm coming in is the majority of people are telling me, don't do it, right? And again, the majority of people also write damsel romance, and I don't write that. So I may have to go a different path. But here's the other thing. I have not looked at the book in a long time. And I already know it's going to need revisions, regardless of whether I change it from first person and third person to just all third person. Yay, Vex, welcome! It's good to see you. Nice. Okay, so there is the dilemma of that, but I always have to balance my art and staying true to me with also making money, because I'm not totally about the money, because obviously I don't follow the trends. And then my books would suck if I followed the trends. But on the other hand, these are good things that I'm writing. I only write the story that I like. So if it's not good enough, I will change it. So the revisions are going to happen. It's an old story and it needs to be updated. I'm pretty sure she doesn't even have a cell phone. That's how old it is. Hey, Tanya, welcome. So with that in mind, I recognize that I am writing for an audience, in the sense that I do want my readers to buy the books. I do. But on the other hand, how do I tell you the story in the way that I really want to tell you? And this character, you have met this character. If you read any of the Warbler Peninsula stories, you have met this character. It's her story, which means it's a prequel to all of those stories, because she's already had her story by the time you meet her. As long as there aren't any payphones. No. If there are payphones, they'll be like, did you see that old payphone? Can you imagine there's still one in town? Might have to make it a magic payphone, because, it's kind of the old school. No, they didn't have any payphones, but they also didn't have any cell phones, so I'm going to have to update his cell phones. Actually, if it's a prequel, I might not have to. Well, anyway, the point is, how I write it will take some revision anyway, because the writing is old. The character does need to be updated, and she does need to have her voice be a lot more calm. But the best part about it is she is learning who she is. Okay, and Mary says, I just read a story that was written in third, then first, alternating chapters. It was jarring the first time, but after that I got used to it. If it's written well and the story flows, it might take you by surprise, but it can work. You have to be good at writing it, and you have to be very clear about who is talking at the time. And again, in my mind, I remember it going very well, but the question is, will it go well now? And I don't know. Maybe after I read through it, I'll be like, oh, just write it in third person. just write it in third person. It's a good story, but you need it in third. It may come up that way. I haven't looked at it. I'm in the middle of 2 other older stories, so I won't be touching this one for a little while. But I just wanted to give a sense of what people thought. And true enough, I got the majority of responses were, don't do it. Now, 2 people that I really respect and have had a lot of experience in the writing world said, write it the way you think it should be written and see. Because if you write it another way and it doesn't feel real to you or doesn't feel right, then it's going to show in the writing. And one of them, like I said, is an editor that I really respect. The other is another author who's been doing it as long or longer than I have. So that gives me a little bit of heart, because the other author was like, hey, sometimes you have to do the art the way you want to do it. And Tanya said she just read a book that was written in his and hers, and she loved it. Well, you know, I have a book I recommend you guys read. Actually, there's this pair of them. One is called Wild Man, and the other one's called Mountain Man. And both of them are written in first person, right? But you do switch between the POVs. So you switch between, in the first one, it was Mountain Man, and it was Hank and Bertie. And in the second one, it was Bo and Freya, right? And again, every chapter was written in first person, but but sometimes it was Hank, and sometimes it was Bertie, and sometimes it was Bo, and sometimes it was Freya. Now, these are 2 separate stories, so there's not that many people going on, but it was written really well, and you knew whose voice you were listening to, and you knew how they were, one was a guy and one was a woman. It was perfect, and she did a nice job. And so if you want to read her books, I totally recommend them. She wrote, like I said, the first one was Wild Man, the second one was Mountain Man. No, I'm sorry, I got those backwards. The first one is Mountain Man, the second one's Wild Man, and her name is Shirley Gray. She's a Kiwi author. She's from New Zealand, and they were great books. I love them, and I'm not a huge fan of first person either, but she totally made you feel like you were there and you were living in these people's perspectives. So I really recommend it if you want to read them. I can write them down and you can see them. But if you get that opportunity to read like I said, sometimes you have to do something other than what you've done. And all of my stories are third, right? So maybe it's time to get first and third, just to have something different. But again, I will have to go through the story. So that's part of the author's dilemma is putting out stuff that sells, but also putting out stuff that you want to write. I only write the stories I like. I won't give you stories I don't like. And a lot of you know that because when I had the Valkyrie's Sword finished, you guys were like, when is it going to be done? And I'm like, it sucks. It's not going to be done. Actually, the advice I always give during Nano is try it both ways and see which one you like better. Right. And it's written already, Mary. The story's finished. And I liked it that way. But it may, when I revise it, it may come across as like, oof, no, that's not a good way of doing it. I could never understand POV, but I know books I love, if that makes sense. And absolutely right, Tanya. You're a reader. You're supposed to be enjoying it. For me, I have to be able to know what I like and how the character needs to speak to you, so that you may actually like it, as long as, and POV means point of view, if you're wondering. POV means sometimes you're speaking in the heroine's voice, it's her point of view. And sometimes you're speaking in the hero's voice, it's his point of view. So that's what POV means. And when people say don't head hop, it means don't put the same point of view in the chapter. You make a definite split. That's a rule. However, if you've been writing long enough, like Silver James, you know that you can break that rule. And Silver breaks it on purpose. She knows the rule, and she's choosing to do it differently. And her writing doesn't suffer for it. I really like it, but she's breaking the rule. So, what third person means? Third person means that when you're telling the story, most of my books are in third. So when you're telling the story, you're saying, well, let me read you some. Do you want me to read you a little snippet? I've got a book right now that I'm working on. It's an older book, but it is all in third person, and I can read you a little bit of it. So let's try that. So this is an old one, an older book that I'm working on that I'm revising. Okay? So third person means you use he and she instead of I. Okay, first person is, I did this, I went there, I am doing this. Sometimes people like Suzanne Collins, who writes The Hunger Games, she writes in first person present. So I'm standing there watching her do this, and I'm thinking, what's going on? It's present tense. You know, third person, I usually write third person past. He did, she did, they did. Okay, so here we're talking about the character's name is Lysandra. She is a dragon. And, the second person I can't stand. I can't stand second person, Mary. I can't. The only time that's good is actually in role-playing games, because the DM is trying to get you to, okay, you go through the story, you see this, you do this, what do you do? I don't like second person reading. I like second person, when you're in a live interview, someone's trying to tell you how set up the scene, and then you go with it. Choose your own adventure. Yep, that's exactly it. Okay, so the character's name is Lysandra. She's a dragon shifter. She's in her human form right now because she's she's trying to have a blind date with a guy by the name of Denarian. And so she is right now in the shower because he pulled her off a rock and they fell into the reservoir. I can't read a book in second person. It doesn't work for me either, and I can't tell it well. So you're not going to get second person. Don't worry about it. So this is a little bit of a snippet from Lysandra's point of view. We're in third person, and it's her point of view, right? She's the voice that you're hearing in your head when you read. She shook her head and shucked her clothes off as she turned the shower on. She only used one of the heads, because this is a fancy shower, not wanting to take too long to figure out the rest. I just need to get clean, not to get a massage. She started her shower, hoping to get done soon, but the hot water settled her nerves and made her think about Denarian again. She snorted, as if I stopped thinking about him. Oh, I should probably use a K in there. She'd scanned him with her sight when she first met him, and his dragon essence glowed like blue silver, like a glacial mist. But a curious darkness floated at the edges of his aura. Lysandra frowned into the water as she washed her hair. The darkness didn't represent taint exactly, more like a geas set by something very strong and powerful, keeping him from using his own abilities. Even stranger, the geas seemed to be of his own making. Why would anybody put a geas on themselves and their abilities? Who hid himself from himself? That's like shooting yourself in the foot. Was he even aware of the geas? Probably not if he hadn't shaken it off, or maybe he'd gotten so used to feeling subdued he didn't remember being any other way. Do I want to get involved with a guy like that? The question followed her through finishing her shower and dressing in Denarian's loaned clothes. She allowed herself to close her eyes and inhale his scent, a mixture of freshly baked bread and rosemary. Thought back to the moment they touched. He's my true mate. Did that mean she didn't have a choice? She hadn't reached an answer when she returned to the kitchen downstairs. Denarian puttered around the large room while his laptop sat on the corner, queued up to Skype. Hey, how was the shower? He poured a cup of coffee and set it on the counter next to the computer. Good. She settled into the chair at the counter. I didn't use more than one head, but it's spacious. Yeah, I built it that way so it's more comfortable for two. He gave her a smoldering smile and she swallowed hard. Maybe they could take a shower together. You need to call your kids, remember? Oh, I bet that would be fun. What am I saying? Maybe we could try it out after I talk to my family? His smirk widened despite the mention of her kids. Yeah, maybe we could. Should I give you some privacy? No, that's fine, though you might want to stay out of the camera's eye. Once they see you, they'll want to talk to you. She reached for the coffee and sipped while she logged into Skype. He snorted. That's scary, are they? Lysandra merely met his gaze and raised her eyebrows. Not scary. Direct and assertive. Like their mother. Uncertainty flashed through his expression before he covered it with another smirk. Yeah, I can see that. It's good to have strong women in the family, right? Count on it. She grinned as she made her Skype call, waiting for it to connect. After a click or two, Solinara's face filled the screen. Hey, Sole. How's it going at home? Lysandra! I didn't expect you to call today. It's going well. How are you? So, that's third person. You're hearing he or she, and you're hearing it that he or she is doing this thing. Okay? So that's what third person is. If I had read it in first person, it would have been, I sat down and stared at the computer. Do I really want to log into Skype? I didn't want to talk to my kids. This was my free time. But family is family. That would have been first person. The Hunger Games POV drove me nuts. It's from the main character's point of view. I kept hoping to find out what other people were doing, but I found myself screaming at the book. Yes. That's the problem with first person, is that sometimes you get you don't. That's the thing I had a problem with first person as well, is that you don't get the other POVs. Now, if you're really good at writing first person, you will be able to translate from the narrator's point of view what those other people are doing and feeling. Okay, that's kind of where you have to be able to do it, right? That's kind of the goal, is to put together the ability to write it and still convey what's going on in other people. Oh, thanks for joining us, Bern. Glad to see you. I actually liked the fact that it was in first person while she was alone, and third when they were both there. It wasn't in third when they were both there, that I recall, at least in the book that I read. There wasn't any third when they were both there. It was all first person present. So that's what I liked how she wrote it, but it took me aback that I liked it, because it was first person present. And I thought, really? But she did it pretty well. So again, some people can't get over that connection, knowing what I read. Well, actually, Mary, in what I read, everything was in third person. Now, you were really focused on her when she was alone. But when they joined up, you got a little bit more where he gave you some actions. But it was still all in third person. If it was in first person, it would have been a bunch of, I did this, I was sitting there, I was doing this. And then, and again, when I switch to another chapter, it will be it will be from his perspective. So you'll be in his thoughts, and his internal thoughts will be him. And then you will see what she's doing. But I switch back and forth, so you know what each of them are doing in their own separate place, if that makes sense. You missed that in my mind, Phil. Exactly, Mary, but that's the key. If the author can write it so well, you don't even see that you're not reading it in first person. Because you're so focused on being that character. That shows the writing is going well. So yes, you want to make it transparent. You want to make it like, effortless, I guess is the word. Effortless. You slide into everybody's POV and it's good to go. So the dilemma is, can I do that with first and third switching? That was my dilemma. And a lot of people were telling me no, I couldn't. And they wouldn't read it. Now, there is one person who said, I wouldn't even pick up the book. And I thought, well, considering you've told me that my writing sucks anyway, I'm not too worried about you. But, and that was her opinion, and she's entitled to it. But I was kind of like, okay, all right. Anyway, so my job, though, is to make the stories read easy. so that you guys, like I was reading, Mary didn't even know that we weren't in first. We went from first person to third. That was because it was so effortless, I guess is the word. The big thing here is to make it so that you just keep following along and you don't even notice the mistakes. And I will try to do that with this other story. Now, again, this is a very old story, and it's been waiting for years. So I'm working on, this is going to be the year of the old story, I will tell you that. Right now, the first one's coming out in March, and it was written 4 or 5 years ago, but I finished it in 2017, and now the editor is looking through it, so it'll be smooth. And then there's another one that I worked that was 10 years ago, and I'm now revising. I just read you a little bit of it. That one's coming out soon. And then I have another story. It's actually a romantic suspense ghost story. The hero's a ghost, and that will take some severe revision. I was looking over some of it and like, well, have I matured? And so I will be changing that and fixing it and making it stronger. And then you will get, that one will be out this year too. In addition to, so that'll be 2 Cloudburst stories, 1 Capital Second Chances story. There's going to be a Bad Boys of Beta Squad, at least one, a Cheyenne Cowboys, there will be one of those, and there will be at least probably 2 Ultimate Recon. Can I get them all out this year? I don't know. We'll see. The old Harlequin books that I actually started reading many years ago that actually gave me my love of reading, they were always in the female. Yeah, right. And then I've seen authors write only in third person, but the heroine. Right? You don't even get to find out what the hero's doing. It's only in third person heroine, and she has to, the way she's describing things going on, you figure out what the hero's doing. I don't like that style, but it is possible to write it that way. And it's okay. A lot of people like it. It's not my favorite, so I don't write it that way, but it is possible. Mary says, begins requisite Deli chant. Yes, Deli is coming this year. He's the Bad Boys of Beta Squad story. He's coming. And then there's a doctor. Her name is Dr. Susie, and she worked at the Triple Star Ranch. Her story is coming, and it's called Star Spangled Banner, and that's the Cheyenne Cowboys. And it's kind of a crossover because you're going to end up meeting some of the Ultimate Recon guys, as well as she's going to fall in love with a Navy SEAL. He fell out of the sky. It just works. The man's was always at the end of the book. It wasn't until I started reading other books that gave both throughout that the book that I realized missing knowing his POV. Yeah. I don't like it when it's put at the end of the book. I want a mixture in between. I want to know what's going on at the time. Now, Silver James does it all in the same scene where she switches from their different heads all at the same time. I like to split it up with whoever needs the most, whoever has the most to lose. That's the way to remember it, is write the POV of the person that has the most to lose and then switch, because, things will change. And I like it that way better too. That's my preference. And, again, I write for my preference. So you're going to get a Cheyenne Cowboys crossover. And also it'll be crossed with Lost and Found too. So you're just going to get a whole bunch of stories to connect to. And that'll be Star Spangled Banner. Then you're going to get Deli's Takeout, which is Bad Boys of Beta Squad, and that one comes out as well. Then there's going to be 2 Cloudburst stories. One of them is Cloudburst Coffee and Spa. The other one is Courting the Dragon Widow. And then you're going to get, probably I will try to work on the ghost story. Like I said, most of these are written, but, they just need some revisions. And then you're also going to get some Ultimate Recon because Viking and my sniper, his name is Brian Tanaka, he's talking as well. So, I'm getting stories kind of left and right going, okay, you guys, 2018 is only into February and I don't have time to write everything. So there will be stories coming. So if I do end up doing what my dilemma is, that, the first and third, it will be once I've looked it over and see if that's the way it's going to be. And to those of you who don't like the switch, I apologize, but it might be that that's the way it needs to be written. And it is Kate's story. And a lot of you love Kate Blackamber, who lives in Little Three Lakes, Michigan, in the Warbler Peninsula. It is, and it will be a prequel. It will happen before the Valkyrie's Sword, before Order of the Dragon, before Burning Yuletide. So, if I do work on her story this year, it may take a lot of thought and process. Decide if I need to put it into third, or if she's going to speak to you from, I've been thinking about this and I'm doing it this way. I recognize it's an unusual way of doing it, and I know the rules, and I'm choosing to break them. So there you go. But yes, Terry's like, Star Spangled Banner! Star Spangled Banner. So she wants cowboys. See, Terry wants cowboys. Mary wants the Bad Boys of Beta Squad, the military SEALs. Boy, I was just reading a book called Seal of My Dreams. I guess it's an anthology, and it has like 20 different people who wrote a bunch of SEAL short stories. Boy, some of them were really good. They got me all excited about writing SEALs again. I think the ones that I like in particular were the action-adventure ones, where he was actually there to bring her out in whatever she did. And my favorite one, actually, was he had to suddenly start to acknowledge that she was a master in her own right. She just wasn't a SEAL. And he had a tough time recognizing that. So looking forward to reading Kate's story too. You froze? Oh no! No, I'm sorry I froze. Read more! Read more! Yeah, the SEALs. The problem is I can't read the SEALs while I write the SEALs. I have to take a break, which is why I'm reading SEALs while I'm writing the dragon story. And here I am. These are going to be Cloudburst stories, so I'm getting all excited, and I'm like, oh, I just really want to get a new cover. At the end of the day, if the story works, it doesn't matter, as long as it flows along. Exactly, Tanya. You're exactly right. And that's kind of the way I'm thinking it's going to work, is that it's going to flow well enough. But we'll see. Again, I haven't looked at it yet, and considering I have several other stories that are giving my attention, it might be a while yet but I wanted to hear people's perspectives. And they kind of came up what I thought would say is, don't do it. All right, I hear what you say, and I may ignore you anyway. But I recognize that you have a valid point of view. So yeah, we'll see. And whatever story, it's not going to be put out unless I like it. So unless it flows for me, you won't have to put up with it. I promise. So anyway, I am so glad y'all came and joined with me today. It's so great to talk to you. Thank you for taking your time away from Facebook and coming to visit me. I really appreciate that. When the video ends, there's a place down below that you can actually comment. And I will get notifications of those comments, and I can respond to them. And so if you didn't get to see this live, that's okay. Please comment. I will totally respond. Also, if you could also pass the word, have people subscribe. I think I have like 47 subscribers. That's pretty good. But I'd like to get, like over 100, because apparently I get some special help from YouTube if I get over 100 subscribers. And of course, I just want to get the news out there. It's like, hey, Siobhan's live. Go and talk to her. Which, yeah, please come and talk to me. I love it when you talk to me. Thank you all for joining me this morning. I hope you have a great weekend. And I hope you have a great week. Again, next week I tend to do the Saturday Evening Soliloquy on SMTV at 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern. And, I'll talk to you about anything then, too, and tell you what's going on. If you have any questions, I can answer questions. And then, of course, the Sunday morning tea, somewhere between 10 and 11 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Mountain, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 p.m. Eastern. And it's so good to talk to people. I hope you have a great day and a good week. Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is coming, guys. You ready for that? Plus, I have Murrelet birthdays this month. So in addition to Valentine's Day, I got to find gifts for the Murrelets as well. So yeah, busy time for me. But I will be writing. I promise. There's romance to be written, and it's the month of romance. Also, one last thing, there is a winter book fair. Please do go check it out. And let me see, the link is tinaglassneck.com, and look up for her book fairs. She has them, his winter book fair, but I put it on my site as well. So do come and check that out. And yeah, I hope to see all y'all in the week. So heck no. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'm glad you guys joined me. So thank you very much for being here and having fun with me and answering my questions and interacting. I sure do appreciate it. So take care, be well, and I'll talk to you later. Apparently it's not quitting. It should. Huh? It's refusing to end.